Podcasting, the latest frontier. These are the episodes of a Catch as Catch Can podcast. Its continuing mission: to explore strange, nerdy topics, to chat about sports, movies, sci-fi, and so much more. To boldly pod where this nerd has gone before. Captain's Log, pod date 0414.19. On this episode of To Boldly Pod, we have a lot to go through. We're going to review our tournament we've been holding on Facebook to figure out what the greatest TV theme song of all time is. And in conjunction with that, we're going to be joined by comedian Billy Hoffman because, he help me create this little fun that we're having. And he's also got some great shows coming up he wants to discuss. Also, we're going to do a quick little To Boldly Pod question. And we have a segment of The Hell is Wrong with Mankind. But before we get to any of that, we're going to kick the show off with a little bit of a surprise Star Wars trailer. And we're going to talk about said surprise Star Wars trailer. And it starts right about now. Scotty, set phasers on stun. Engage.
We've passed on all we know. 1,000 generations live in you now. But this is your fight.
So that, my friends, was the first official teaser/trailer of Star Wars Episode 9 and a reveal of the title, The Rise of Skywalker. And though it didn't give you a ton, especially hearing it here just audio, it did give you a lot of little insights and questions that may be coming this Christmas when the movie gets released. Most Star Wars people like myself got all giddy when the first trailer/teaser gets released, and we start to think about and dissect every little nook and cranny of the release. So And I'm no different. I will give you a few thoughts that I had about that. And then I asked people on social media if they had any thoughts they would like to share as well. And we'll include those too. Now, as I stated, the teaser doesn't really give you a ton of dialogue to go on. Most of it is a voiceover featuring Luke Skywalker, aka Mark Hamill, sort of setting the stage and giving you a visual representation of what may soon to come. And in the visuals, if you haven't seen it, go watch it, of course, after you finish listening to this podcast, and you'll see that Lando Calrissian makes his return. And at the very end, you get this strange laugh that we're all so familiar with, and it's obviously Emperor Palpatine, or Darth Sidious, if you will. And, yeah, I don't know where that voice came from. And that leads everybody immediately. They're saying, how can that be the Emperor? He was killed at the end of Return of the Jedi. And you know what? It's Star Wars, so you never know who's dead. And as the last thing you hear in the teaser and trailer, before the laugh, is Luke Skywalker saying, no one is ever really gone. So I'm really looking forward to it. It's going to be a long summer and fall waiting for the release of Star Wars Episode 9. So as I stated earlier, I asked people on social media for their thoughts to include here on To Boldly Pod, and I got a few replies. Noted author Paul Canellis said, I love the title because it's so dang intriguing. I've heard complaints about it, and at first I could see the point. It's kind of unlike any other Star Wars title. But here's the thing. We have no idea who the Skywalker refers to. Is it Luke, Rey, Kylo, Leia, or even Anakin? Is it a new word used sort of like Jedi? You're a Skywalker now? Is it the kid with broom from The Last Jedi? Is it R2? Is it Spock? That's right, he said Spock. He's young, but he's learning, folks. Second, one of the more annoying fanboy things to say over the past couple years is misguided adults calling Rey a Mary Sue. I love that the trailer has no qualms in saying, okay, look, Rey is a badass. I can concur with that, Paul. Now, I also got some feedback from my buddy Rob. He said it looks epic. I hope J.J. Abrams can deliver on the movie as he did with the trailer. Lando's back, plus Palpatine's laugh at the end, priceless. It's the last segment that hopefully ties up all the loose ends and saves the trilogy from The Last Jedi. Keep your fingers crossed, but overall, I'm super excited to go see this one. Couldn't agree more, Rob. And I also got a little bit of feedback from my buddy Dave. And by little bit of feedback, I mean a few different things. He said, I'm not sure what to think of the trailer yet, except skeptical. Still feel burned on what they did in The Last Jedi. And the stuff that does not count anymore, there were Palpatine clones. Already heard this theory that Snoke was a defective clone or something. So back when Anakin turned heel, or bad guy for those of you that don't know wrestling terminology, he was on a knee to Palpatine, and Palpatine says, rise. Rise of Skywalker? Who is the Skywalker in question? I mean, after all, 3PO is technically sort of a Skywalker, case closed. That's a typical Dave ending, but that brings up a good point. Are we tying in not only the entire series, or are we tying in the first 3, 4, 5, and 6, and 7, 8, and 9, and just ignoring 1, 2, and 3? That's a very good question, Dave, and something I hope we all get answered coming up at Christmas time for Star Wars Episode 9, The Search for Spock. I'm sorry. I mean The Rise of Skywalker. You have any thoughts about the trailer, the teaser? Let me know on Facebook or Twitter at TooBoldlyPod, and we will most definitely revisit this when the movie comes out this Christmas. We haven't done a Too Boldly Pod question in quite a while, but you know what? I kind of threw this one out last second, so we didn't get a ton of responses, but I still think it's a fun question, so this may be something that we go back and revisit further down the road on another podcast. The question was, what fictional character would you like to walk up to and just punch? My buddy Jim replied, in anything or in a certain category. I told him, movies or TV shows, whatever. He said, in that case, I'd love to throat punch the child catcher in Chitty Chitty Bang Bang. Kate said, I'm going to go with Anakin Skywalker, but only portrayed by Hayden Christensen. The other permutations of the character are fine. And coming in a close second would be Twilight's Bella Swan. Kayla replied, can I pretend Rob Corddry is fictional and punch him? Jenny replied, I'm sitting here racking my brain, but I don't think I've ever hated a character enough to want to punch them in the face. Although if we go with not liking a character because they make you feel awful, then I have to go with Milton from Office Space. He's so pathetic in most of the movie, and that it literally hurts my heart to watch. And then Mark replied, Camilla Soprano, hands down. Do I have one? I have a lot that I'd really like just to walk up to and jab right in the face, but I'm going to save it for when we revisit this question further down the road. Now, do you have a character in TVs or movies that you wanted to walk up and punch? Let me know on Facebook or Twitter at TooBoldlyPod, and when we revisit this, we'll give your answer. As some of you know, over the past week or so, we have been paying tribute to the NCAA basketball tournament in the guise of holding our own tournament, trying to decide what the best TV theme song of all time is. And what we did was we asked our friends on Facebook to give us a couple of their favorite TV theme songs. Then we threw them all in a hat, and we drew them out randomly and pitted them all against each other in a 32-team bracket. Now, currently, we are just a few hours away from crowning a champion, and the championship match features Cheers versus the Brady Bunch. The initial idea was given to me by author and comedian and damn fine guy, W.C. Billy Hoffman, and he's going to join me now, and we're going to overview the entire tournament, our surprises and whatnot, and he's going to talk a little bit about some of the comedy shows he has coming up. So Billy is joining me right now, and first of all, Billy, how did you come up with the idea? Was it just because of the NCAA tournament?
Actually, I listened to another podcast, and they did a 4 to 5 hour long version of this tournament where they did all 64 shows. They broke them down in different categories. They actually played every single song, and it was such a chore to get through, but I wanted to listen to it because I liked the ideas, and I thought I should talk to Dan because I bet we could do a condensed version of this and make it more entertaining and get more people involved, because on the other show, it was just the two hosts bantering back and forth.
So, with our 32-team tournament, were there any that you looked at the beginning and thought, that's going to be a show that's going to be near the finals?
Yeah, well, at the very beginning, I looked at the 32 and I went, oh, I think we made a mistake by going 32. I was like, oh, rest in peace. A lot of shows that, that had iconic theme songs. But then I thought, well, we could always do like another one, maybe in another year or another topic or whatnot. But, from the get-go, I expected, and also knowing your audience, okay, I expected Cheers to do well, of course. I kind of thought like Andy Griffith would do a little bit better than it did, and I also thought, maybe Jefferson's and I thought Golden Girls was for sure a Final Four team.
Well, see, what happened was I wrote them all down and tore them up into little pieces of paper and drew them out of a hat. That's how I got the matchups. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So seeing Golden Girls get put in the same bracket with Cheers, I was like, oh, it's Michigan State Duke all over again.
Except nobody blew out a shoe this time, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. And Golden Girls didn't win.
Yeah. So as most people will know, by the time they hear this podcast, we are in the finals with the Brady Bunch facing off against Cheers, and more than likely Cheers is going to win because they have a huge lead, much like your typical NCAA championship. It's not really a game, but is Cheers going to be a fitting champion for the first annual To Boldly Pod TV theme song tournament bracket brought to you by Pfizer?
Well, I think if Cheers didn't win, this whole thing was a waste of time. Because Cheers was my number one seed from the get-go. If we didn't do this at all, and you said, hey, what's the best, not your favorite, not my favorite, but what's the best TV show theme song of all time, right off the top of my head would have been Cheers. It's instantly iconic. Sometimes you want to go where everyone knows your song. See what I did there?
I see.
But it just, it's one of the, I've watched every episode of Cheers, and in Netflix has helped with that. But it's one of those shows, when you're watching shows on Netflix and it gives you the option to skip the intro, it's one of those shows that I never skip the intro to. And not only that, but I really like the extended version of the song as well.
That was the only quote unquote controversy during this tournament, was people were saying, well, you're leaving out this, you're leaving out that, you're leaving. It's like, dude, it's Facebook free stupid entertainment. We're not going to be able to do every single show, or otherwise this thing would take 5 years.
Yeah, and also like people's selection criteria was a little bit different, because I think there was a lot of people that were picking based on what their favorite show is, and which is fine. Pick what you want. You kind of left it open to people's different interpretation. Me personally, I tried to judge it based on, for me, is it iconic? Can you play the song and someone automatically knows what show it is?
Right.
And then also, just how I felt, about the song, whether I liked the song or not. I tried to leave if I liked the show out of it, because there. And then also, a little bit for me was what's happening during the actual theme song intro. Because, for example, like Game of Thrones, Dan, like the intros are like so intricate and amazing visually, and the song's cool. But if it wasn't for them putting clues to each episode and putting so much work into each intro, I'd skip it.
So this has been at least an entertaining success on Facebook for everybody. And I actually had somebody suggest later on down the road we should take Saturday morning cartoons and hold a little tournament much the same way as this.
Ooh, that's a good idea. You could definitely find 32 of them. You might have to go you might have to dig a little deep, but I'm sure there's 32 that you could get close enough to pop culture for people to know.
Almost. Well, if you included like Scooby-Doo and some of the afternoon shows and what, it would be easy to do. So that'll be fun to do. So thank you for the idea. It was fun. It helped out with this podcast. And before we let you go, we also know that you are a comedian. So first of all, tell us how you started becoming a comedian, why you decided to become a comedian.
I swear to God, I thought you were going to say, tell us a joke. I'm like, that's not how it works. So I've always been into performing in a stage performer. I started out doing musicals and dancing in, middle school, and just went up through like different theater productions. Always gravitated towards comedic roles. Always been a very good and dynamic, I guess, public speaker. Public speaking is something I excel at, and and then I did a lot of magic, because that's what you do when you want to get ladies. So I started doing a lot of magic, but I always did comedy magic. So I looked up to guys like Jeff Hobson, the Amazing Jonathan, and Matt King, who are all amazing comedy magicians. And I found myself focusing more on the comedy than doing the magic. And I just kind of realized that it was time to drop the props and just do straight stand-up. And doing straight stand-up is a lot easier to get booked in the comedy clubs and on tours and booking, fundraiser shows and stuff like that. So it all kind of just progressed from and then I like writing. I like being funny. If you're sitting with me around a campfire, I'm probably the one busting everyone's balls. I'm everyone's favorite inappropriate uncle. I think that's maybe why you and I get along so well. We both fill that role in our respective families.
No idea what you mean.
Yeah, exactly. So generally, you and I can have a conversation with a glance. So yeah, I'm pretty sure you do know what I mean. But yeah, so it's good. It's kind of kicking butt. Sorry, I'm almost sore on your show. It's kind of kicking butt for me. I have a lot of different side projects, and this one's been really well. I've performed in I don't know, 7 states, I guess now, doing like little mini tours, hitting comedy clubs, and it's been really fun. If listeners to Boldly Pod want to check me out and see if I'm their style of comedian or not. Oh, there's a good bracket. We could do best comedians of all time.
Yeah.
But anyway, you can go right to dadbodcomedy.com. I'm on the Dad Bod Comedy Tour. So Dad Bod Comedy, you can click on the show links there. We're right now all over the Midwest. But if you want to bring us out to your location, we'll be happy to travel. That being said, you can click on my name right there on that website, which is dadbodcomedy.com. Click on Billy Hoffman, and there's performance videos and stuff. They're a little old, and it's not material you'll see me actually doing if you hire me or come to one of my shows. But it's there for you to check out. And so that's that.
So I know you have a show coming up that means a lot to you. So go ahead and pimp that one out if you want to.
Yeah, absolutely. My next show is in Fenton, Michigan, which is going to be April 27th, and it is a fundraiser for one of our next county over sheriff's deputy who was shot in the face while on duty and is recovering. They did get the bad guy, thankfully, and actually shot him in the face too. But a little twist of
serendipity
there. Yeah, exactly. But luckily. He is recovering. He is able to take part in the court proceedings and stuff. But obviously, his work and life balance is extremely affected. So what we're doing is I partnered with the IAA, which is the Independent Archers Association, because Officer Jeff Koenig is a bit, he's into the outdoors, he's into archery, as am I. And we partner with them, and we're putting a show on right here in Fenton, Michigan. It's $20. The money goes right to the officer. The door prizes are just insane. The community has really come out for this one. The gift cards and just for buying a ticket and walking in the door. There's hunting stuff, there's hiking stuff, there's outdoor stuff, there's archery stuff. Lots of good restaurants have kicked in, so it's really cool. Spy Point cellular cameras and Dr. Wax Orthodontics and John's Pizzeria are all and Uncle Ray's Dairyland. I got to get the corporate sponsors in there. They all kicked in. They're all great. So how you buy tickets is you just go to that same website, dadbodcomedy.com, click buy tickets, and all the links to all our shows are right there.
Cool. I will put the link to that on this podcast page on SoundCloud and, Radio Chronos. Did I just say Radio Chronos? Spock Rock. Christ, I'm going to fire myself. Spock Rock Radio. for all of that. And you know what? Thank you for giving.
I'll talk about it on Balderdash with Billy.
Yeah, please do. Or Two Guys and 15 Jobs or whatever that one was called.
That one was actually one of my favorites, but I didn't have a good. Well, I had a great partner for it. But anyway, we're talking about failed podcasts that I had.
Yeah, not just you. So, anyways, I digress. So, thank you for the great idea for this tournament. I think we're going to do it again because it was a lot of fun. And as always, it gives me something to fill content on this podcast. So, anything you want to say in parting? Other than, everybody knows your name is going to be a championship song for the ages, much like, what's that stupid NCAA one?
One shining moment.
Yeah, I was going to say, can I borrow a feeling? But that's from The Simpsons.
I guess, just looping back real quick, was there any upsets that happened that blew, maybe you already discussed that, but was there any upsets that really surprised you?
Well, the one that kind of did a little bit was Twilight Zone. In the first couple of rounds just smoked two of my favorite choices, and then they got up against Happy Days and they just got they got thumped.
Remind me of who they
lost to Happy Days.
Yeah, but who did they beat?
They beat Doctor Who and Star Trek.
No one cares about Doctor Who. Come on. Just kidding.
It held its own for like a minute.
Has Doctor Who had the same theme song for its entire run? There's no way.
It's predominantly the same theme song, or since it was reborn in 2005, they've kind of tinkered with it, but it still has the same sort of background sound.
Yeah, so I just looking over again. You had Game of Thrones, Cheers, Golden Girls, MASH, Welcome Back, Kotter, all in the same breath. That's tough. That's a tough lineup.
I was actually kind of surprised that Law & Order beat X-Files, because of all the sci-fi ones, I thought that was the most iconic. But then
I agree, because the opening three bars to Seinfeld, the opening three bars to X-Files immediately tells you it's X-Files.
Right. But so does Law & Order with that do. So
that's a good point, but I don't know.
But, it was fun doing it anyways, and gave people stuff to argue and chat about without getting politics involved.
Oh yeah, imagine that. Want me to tell a political joke?
What? Just look at Hollywood. Look at Washington. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. I going in my comedy, I don't do much political humor just because it's so divisive. But I will tell you this: I recently did some shows in North Carolina, and the same jokes get different reactions. Like, I tell a Trump joke up here to purposely get a groan, because it sets up, I want the groan. I want the, that's what I'm going for, because then I hit him again with another one. And like down there, it almost got a standing ovation. And I'm like, that's the premise. You guys are clapping for the premise.
The Skeeter, that's you.
So that's one thing I'm learning as a comedian, is to I gotta tailor my material a little bit more to where I'm at in the country.
Hey, it's a learning process, like everything. Like doing podcasts.
Yeah. Right. And getting off the interview when Dan's trying to end it. Okay, thanks for having me on the show, man.
Hey, anytime. The Washington County Sheriff in Oregon says there was nothing unusual about the call. Sure, it was broad daylight, 1:48 p.m. local time, but crime can happen anytime. So the frantic call came from a house guest about a burglar making loud rustling noises inside the house, specifically from within the locked bathroom, and it needed an urgent response. So 3 seasoned deputies were dispatched to the scene, one with at least 20 years on the force, a detective who happened to be in the area, and 2 canine officers from the Beaverton Police Department about 7 miles outside of Portland. So you would think from how I have began this story that everything turned out all right and the perpetrator was captured and put behind bars. But you noticed I didn't give you the headline of the article. So, that being said, Dateline, April 10th, 2019. Oregon man called police about a burglar. armed officers found a rogue Roomba. The hell is wrong with mankind? And that puts the buttons on another episode of Too Boldly Pod. I hope you enjoyed our little look at the teaser for Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker. I hope you enjoyed our look at the first annual Too Boldly Pod Greatest TV Theme Song Tournament and my chat with comedian Billy Hoffman about some of the great shows he has coming up. I also hope you enjoyed our preview of the queue that we're starting and we're going to revisit in the future. And I hope you enjoyed this week's The Hell is Wrong with Mankind. And as usual, I don't have a closer for this show, so I'll just say this. You take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and there you have yet another TV theme show song that we didn't include in the tournament. Thank you all for listening. I'll talk to all of you next time.
WLLP, Spock Rock Radio.